The show's not half bad. Actually, it's quite surprising to be honest with you. And this is what happens when you put somebody as a head of a show that actually cares. And that's the difference between Obi-Wan and Ahsoka. Dave Filoni cares about Star Wars. This is the reason why this show will end up being leaps and bounds better than the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. Let's get into the video. Welcome back to the channel, YouTube. Let me talk to you. So, as we all know, we've got the first 2 episodes of Ahsoka, and I have to say this feels like old school Star Wars. From the opening crawl to the cruiser coming into frame, it just felt like it had love put into it. It had care. It felt like some of the things that George Lucas brought to light in the original 6 films. And this is what happens when you have someone who cares about Star Wars. So Lucasfilm, please let the people that care about Star Wars have creative control. Kathleen Kennedy has been running this franchise into the ground. But here, I don't know how much influence she had over Dave Filoni in the story, but it feels like not much at all, because everything that Star Wars related that's been coming out in the past haven't been as well executed for the most part as Ahsoka has been so far.
And I'm all the Jedi.
You serious?
And granted, we've only got 2 episodes, but it feels so great to just be back in that element of what made Star Wars great. Now, the one thing that threw me off a little bit in the first episode was the lightsaber combat, specifically from Baylan's character. It felt super stiff. And when I think about lightsaber combat in small corridors and things like that, I always go back to that scene from Rogue One as Vader boarding that ship and absolutely decimating that entire hallway. It was menacing. It was just a lot of fear. It was simple, but it was fluid. And that's what I felt like Baylan's combat missed. It wasn't very fluid. It felt very stiff. And for me, that was a little bit less interesting than the other fight that we got throughout the first 2 episodes, and that fight between Shin and Sabine. Now, Sabine as a character has been decent so far, pretty predictable with the I'm a badass, I'm a boss girl, rebel thing. Now, that scene with the speeder and her pretty much playing chicken with the next wing, I didn't really care for. Granted, I know that it came from Star Wars Rebel, but that's where the tone of the show kind of gets misunderstood or a little bit confusing. We didn't need that scene. We could have shown her rebellious side in a much better manner. It just took me out, and I didn't really care for it. So if Dave Filoni can clean that type of stuff up, clean up the hokiness of the show, man, this show is probably gonna be super great. But there's a lot he has to work with. There's a lot of things he has to overcome, and not to his fault of himself, but just to the nature of stores in today's market and how people feel about Star Wars, feel about Kathleen Kennedy, feel about the last 3 Star Wars films that no one liked, to be honest with you. Well, I'm not going to say no one liked. People liked them, but they weren't very popular with the true old school Star Wars fan or most of the general population who have seen Star Wars in some way, shape, or form. But the show itself is doing things the right way. And I'm going to reiterate this point again. This is what happens when you put someone in charge of a show that actually cares about Star Wars. I'm looking at you, Leslie Headland, for your Acolyte series. I'm looking at you, Kathleen Kennedy. Let people do what they need to do if they care for this franchise. It's always, always, always going to be better in the long run. Now, the MacGuffin of the show is the map, the key to Admiral Thrawn's banished location. And this is what everybody's chasing in just simple fashion, just like all these shows that put out a younger person or a teenager or just a young adult in these scenarios, they always got to mess it up. Here we are with Sabine taking the map, taking the key. Ahsoka specifically told her, hey, the map stays here. But what does she do? She takes it, gets her ass kicked, and now the bad guys have it. This is what happened. When are we going to stop writing these younger characters in such a stupid manner? They have to be smarter than that. Literally, this chick is a Padawan, and I understand. Oh, she's got to find Ezra. Yeah, right. But dude, be smarter. I don't know why this gets to me so much with these shows, because it's been something that they've done throughout film history. And it annoys me every single time. And maybe it's because I'm always looking at it from my point of view as to what I would do in that scenario. So maybe that's just it. Maybe I'm on the outside looking in and I can't interject myself in certain things, because Sabine is her own character and she has her own feelings, of course. And her feelings for Ezra is probably driving a lot of her emotions and things she's doing to get to the point where she is right now. But ultimately, they always mess it up and cause more damage than they do when they are particularly trying to help. Happens all the time. And this show is no different. Other than that, there's not much else that I have to say that can push this show past its point of being better than Obi-Wan. The love, the care that Filoni puts into it, the freedom that he has, the lack of input that Kathleen Kennedy might have had in the show is better for it. But where do we go from here? It only has to be up. And if the indicator of the pace of the show, the quality of the show, the story of the show, the passion that they put into the show is any indicator of what we're going to get throughout the rest of this series, I am going to be hella excited for this. If you guys seen it, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Until next time, guys, my name's Lincoln. This is the RPG Show. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.